Hey there, Trisha with Upcycled Stuff. Today I'm going to show you how to make little trinket boxes out of aluminum beverage cans. And the ones here I've used as maybe you would use at Valentine's Day to bring treats to the kids at school in. Let me give you a better look at them. So these ones with the kisses here. Maybe you wouldn't bring this one to school. This one was actually a Bud Light container. Or maybe one like this is a little bit prettier. This one here used to be an Arizona tea mucho mango, one of my favorites, beverage can. So they're not that difficult to make, but there's several supplies and lots to do, so let's get started. First we'll start off with what you need. You're going to need a cut piece of your aluminum beverage can. You'll need a pair of scissors, something to punch holes with that you're going to sew your sides with. This is just a homemade little jobber. It's some stacked up cardboard with a rubber band and a thumbtack, and that works just fine. You'll need a Sharpie. A nail file is highly recommended, not a nail file, but a metal file. Highly recommended. You don't have to, but especially if you're sewing them with kids, I recommend it. You'll need some embroidery floss with a sewing needle. This is something that I'll use to score the metal with, and it's an actual tool to do that, but honestly you can use a chopstick or a bamboo skewer. It works just fine. You don't need to get fancy. You'll need something to measure with, and preferably something with a nice straight edge that you can use to mark your soda can up with. You'll need a piece of foam. This one's pretty beat up, but you can do foam or you can use felt will work as well. It's just something that we'll put underneath the can when we do our scoring. Last but not least, just to clean up the marker, you'll need a little bit of alcohol and a cotton ball. Put that to the side for now because we're not going to need that for a while. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to put a little piece of paper down so that when I start marking, I don't mark all over the workspace. You're going to take your can and get it cut. If you need help with this, head over to my channel, and I do actually have a tutorial on how to cut a soda can most effectively. So we're going to start with a 5x5 piece of this soda can. So we're going to measure out a 5x5 square, and in doing so you want to make sure that you're not including this nutrition information portion of it. So you're going to give it an eyeball, and then you're going to flip your can to the inside and you're going to draw a line the entire length of your can. Now it's going to be hard to work with in the beginning, but as we start scoring it, it'll flatten the can out a bit. So from that line, we're going to measure, and if you line up the edge of your straight edge along that black line, you'll make your 90-degree angles without having to get too worried about it. So just go ahead with your marker. Make sure you're not including any portions of the edges that are dented. Just draw that all the way to the edge, and you'll see right here is your 5-inch mark. So we're going to draw another straight edge, lining up the edge of your ruler with the line you just drew. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then here's your other 5-inch mark here. That'll be your last line. For the outside anyway, we have a couple more lines to make. Line things up and make your line. It's kind of crooked on the bottom there. Okay. So this area right here is going to be all the aluminum that you're going to use for your can. Now what you want to do is make additional lines that you're going to score along in order to make the sides of your box. Again, you can change the measurements of these if you want to have bigger sides, but we're going to do 1 1/4 inches on all sides. So if we line this up and we mark at 1 1/4 inches here, and then draw your line here. That's your score line. Okay. Then you're going to do the same thing for this side here. Sorry guys, this isn't the easiest to see. That looks like it's about 1.25 inches. I'm going to draw another line here. And then, let's see. From here, here's our 1.25 inches. Isn't this fun watching me draw lines? Okay, so right here, so you don't get confused, once you've made that third line, each of your corners you're going to X out. You're going to cut those later. Those pieces come out, and you'll be left with these tabs. Alright, we have one more side to do. So let's do 1.25 inches. There we go. Not quite make it all the way to the top there. Same thing there, here and here. So this part here is all you're using for your box. Now go ahead and start cutting along your lines. Regular kitchen scissors will work just fine with this. I like the smaller scissors for getting into the corners. These ones have a nice beveled edge on them, so they snip really nicely right into the corner. Okay. All right. Okay, we're getting there. Of course, you want to be careful when you're working with aluminum. If your edges aren't straight, like mine have all these little nasty little shards on it, and be careful not to cut yourself. This is probably not the best project for little kids to be working on. It's nice if maybe they just do the sewing part once you've gotten it to a place where you're relatively happy with the safety of the edges, that they're not too sharp and that sort of thing. Alright, I'm going to stop trying to be perfect here. Almost there. One last edge. Alright. Now comes the scoring of the edges. So you're going to take either your piece of felt or your foam. You're going to lay this down along with your straight edge. And you're going to put your straight edge right along that marked line that you made earlier. And then take your tool or your chopstick and then give it a good push. Don't worry about pushing too hard, but you're going to score that aluminum. And you'll see the edge start to come up a bit. And as you get these sides done, you'll also see that things start to sort of flatten out a bit, even though the edges are curling up. Here we go. Whoops, try not to move your straight edge. You'll see it doesn't keep that sort of coiled shape that it had when we first started. You guys should know it's killing me. I'm seeing all these places that I want to go back and finish off with a knife where it's not quite straight. But in the interest of time, I'm not going to do it. Okay, now you have your 4 scored edges. And get rid of this. So there we go. Now we just need to make some holes in each side because you're going to fold these up and you're going to make your box. So Before we do that, however, we want to get rid of this marker, and I'm just going to do a little bit so you can see that it actually does work. Just a little bit on the cotton ball, and you'll see that it just takes the marker right off. So don't worry about having messy marker lines, it'll come right off. Alright, now to make your lines, if you're concerned about making sure that everything is spaced properly, you can use, before you start punching, you can put the corner of your straight edge and then you can always go back with alcohol again if you need to, and pick how far apart you want your lines to be. I'll do mine every second line, so I'll just make little marks on my can. Alright. And then you could, of course, do that on all your sides. Take your little homemade tool and you're start making punches. Don't make the punches too close to the edge because you'll end up breaking your aluminum. You want to bring them in just a bit. Alright, once you punch it through, in order to make sure that your needle goes through without tugging and fighting and then you stab yourself, give it a little wiggle. Okay, so it sort of opens up the hole just a little bit. You're going to go through all of your little lines here. And again, in the interest of time, I will do just this one side. You can see it's not perfectly straight, but really the box is so cute that nobody notices. If they do notice, then they can just take comfort knowing that you spent the time making this very special handmade box to present their treats in. Alright. Alright. So then you're going to take these and fold them up. And as you're working it, you might want to just sort of give it a little, bend it against the grain so that it doesn't keep that that rolled can shape. Right. Then take your embroidery floss and start on the inside and literally just poke it through the hole. Find the matching hole on the other side. And then back across to the other side. Pull it through. I'll just do up this one side real quick. I'll show you how to tie it off. And then I'll leave you to finish your project on your own because you're not going to need me anymore. This is basically it. And this orange floss is really pretty. It looks really good with this Mucho Mango container. There we go. Alright, this is the last one. Alright, so when you're finished, let's make sure you pull that all the way through. Ah! There we go. Alright, it's not perfect, but alright. So what you're going to do now to tie this off is you're going to take your needle and you're going to go back through that the top thread, only the top one. Pull your needle all the way through. Oops, make sure it doesn't get stuck in anything. Then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go through that top one, go almost all the way, and when you get sort of to here, take your needle and stick it through the loop, and that's going to make your knot. Pull it nice and tight, and voila. Give it a nice little trim. And then you're going to do that on all sides of your can. Of course, you would have already punched your holes on the other side. You need to go through and maybe grab a Q-tip and some alcohol just to get some of the remaining black dots off. You can do that. And then when you're done, You know, this isn't sharp, it doesn't have shards now, but I think it's much like a paper cut that when you catch it just right, it'll probably hurt. So you can certainly file it down just to make it so it's not quite so sharp. The other thing you can do is take some ribbon or t-shirt garland. If you go back to my YouTube video, I show you how to make that, but out of old t-shirts, just something to glue along the edges so it's not so sharp. But yeah, it's not necessary, but definitely something you want to think about. The other thing you want to do to finish this off is related to the sharp edges, is at the very bottom where the two pieces come together. Every time I've made these, I've always had this extra little sharp point. It really does kind of hurt. Honestly, just a quick, I don't know if you can see it, just push it down into your, I won't do it on the table, but on my straight edge, I just give it a quick little nudge there, and it just folds over nicely. Those do hurt if you get stabbed with them. So there you go, that's how you make your little trinket box. You can make them any size. Certainly you're limited by the size of your soda can or your beverage can, but if you wanted to, you could cut 5 squares of all, you know, equal sizes, and then punch holes all the way around your bottom one, and then on 3 edges of your sides, so you could end up with some that have really large sides. And then you would just sew all the edges to the bottom as well. That's just another thought. Anyway, I hope you have fun with these, and look for next time we will do one of these trinket boxes with a lid. So that's coming up next.